With Captain America Brave New World coming out this week, there will now be 35 movies in the MCU, and right now I'm going to take the opportunity to rank all 34 movies that exist right now. Before I go ahead and show y'all my list, two things. One, I'm going to have to do this as fast as humanly possible because I ramble too much, so 34 movies would definitely take longer than the time frame that TikTok gives me to make videos. And two, please understand, there are 34 movies in the MCU. We are all not going to have the same list, and I know some of these movies may be very controversial for some rankings. It's okay. We all going to have different opinions, but let's just enjoy and have fun. Number 34 is Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Now, granted, Thor: The Dark World is the more popular and generic answer for what the worst MCU movie is, but this movie had actual expectations and let all of us down. So for that, they get last. At number 33 is Thor: The Dark World, and yes, this is still a horrible movie. It's just, again, it had no expectations whatsoever. Ant-Man did, so for that, you get some sort of grace, I guess. Next up is The Marvels, and it has absolutely nothing to do with Brie Larson, Tiana Paris, or Iman Vellani. It has everything to do with the villain, because at least before the villain shows up, this movie's a 3 out of 5 at most. When the villain shows up, it goes right down to a 1, maybe a 0. Number 31, I got Thor: Love and Thunder, and honestly, I really like this movie a lot more than I do now when I first came out of that theater the first time I watched it. But now that this movie has sat with me for so long and I actually had an opportunity to rewatch this, other than Christian Bale's gore, God, this movie's ass. At number 30, I have Eternals, and I can't agree with people that this movie really ain't as bad as we all said it was when it first came out, but it still ain't nowhere near close to good. Number 29, I got Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. And while, yes, Sam Raimi does some very cool stuff with Strange's powers and Wanda's, let me explain something to you. That does not make up for the mishandling of the multiverse of literal madness that this plot and this entire movie is. At 28, I got Captain Marvel, and there are some enjoyable things for me, at least, in this movie, but overall, it's really just meh. Now, this is where I'm going to lose a lot of you, but personally, I got to speak my truth. I'm not the biggest fan of Deadpool and Wolverine, and it ain't got nothing to do with Hugh Jackman. I'm just very over the Ryan Reynolds shtick, and it just did not work for me. Like, the movie was funny at times, but it became very obnoxious very quickly, and I was just as angry as Hugh Jackman was at Wolverine, which, yes, their dynamic works because he's supposed to be that mad at how obnoxious he is, but my God, I just couldn't take it. At 26, I got Black Widow, and yes, I can definitely agree with everybody that Taskmaster was very mishandled, but the thing about this movie is the heartbeat of it is the family dynamic, and that works for me. I love Black Widow, I love Yelena, I love Red Guardian, love Rachel Weisz. It works for me, but I mean, it's still at 26. Next up, I got Iron Man 2, and while the silliness of this movie has grown on me a little bit, I can definitely appreciate it somewhat. I really thought Mickey Rourke's Whiplash was going to be a lot better, and, you know, Sam Rockwell's Justin Ross is cool, but overall, this movie's just, again, meh. I personally wish I could put this movie a little bit higher, but I had to be honest with myself. But I really do love The Incredible Hulk, and this may be a hot take, but this Hulk in this movie, he could have went hand in hand with Thanos. He would have gave Thanos the business, at least for longer than Mark Ruffalo's Hulk did. At 23, I got Ant-Man and the Wasp, and while the villain, in my opinion, is very forgettable, although she's about to be in Thunderbolts, I personally do love the character dynamics. I love Paul Rudd as Ant-Man. I love Evangeline Lilly as Wasp. Love Michael Douglas. Love Michelle Pfeiffer. The characters, this movie's just a lot of fun for me. At 22, I got Thor, and this movie and my next one are personally, in my opinion, the most slept on MCU movies because I think people truly forget. Thor was actually pretty damn good. I think we just are really over the entire Thor storyline at this point because Love and Thunder was atrocious, and, you know, I think Ragnarok is the only movie that everybody is, like, overly praised, so sorry, Chris. Next up, I got Iron Man 3, another movie that I feel like is one of the most slept-on movies in the MCU, and while the Mandarin twist may be dumb or, you know, people have their feelings about it, and they have addressed it, personally, the more I watch this movie, the more I can kind of just ignore that and appreciate this movie for what it is. And Shane Black did a damn good job, in my opinion. Next up is Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and I may receive a little backlash for this one, but trust me, the other two are a lot higher. This one is just strictly fun. The story doesn't necessarily hit as hard as the other two do. Music's still a lot of fun, and the movie's fun, so it has that going for it. All right, so I'm going to have to take back what I said about Thor and Iron Man 3, because actually, this movie is the most slept-on movie in the entire MCU, because it is a great start to the Captain America trilogy. Red Skull is fantastic. I love the dynamic between Bucky and Steve, and then Bucky and Peggy. It just sets everything up so well, especially for that endgame ending that we get. This movie is fucking fantastic. And Tommy Lee Jones was fire in this movie. This is a really good movie. Next up, I got Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, and shout out to Ryan Coogler and the entire cast and crew. Angela Bassett, Letitia Wright, everybody. Because Y'all had an impossible task, and in my opinion, you handled it the best way you could, and it was a damn good movie because of it. Next up, I got Ant-Man. For me personally, one of the funniest movies in the MCU, and like I said, it made me fall in love with Paul Rudd as the Ant-Man character, Michael Douglas, Evangeline Lilly, and Michael Pena. Superstar, Michael Pena. It's so crazy because when I first saw Spider-Man Far From Home, it was in my top 10, but of course, after a while, letting the movie sit with me and putting my bias aside, because I absolutely adore Spider-Man, I can admit it may not be as good as I thought it was, but it's still a lot of fucking fun, and all of you guys can eat a dick for turning your backs on this movie because it's a lot of fun. And Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio is phenomenal. I love his Mysterio. At number 15, I got Avengers Age of Ultron, which is a movie that I have definitely come to appreciate a lot more over the years, mainly because Ultron is truly one of them ones. He was a fantastic villain, and I am so sorry I did not understand what you were doing when I first watched, but it's not only a very fun movie, but Ultron is a fantastic villain, just didn't get all the attention that he deserved, if that makes sense. Dormammu, I've come to bargain with you. I was saying that for months after this damn movie. I love Doctor Strange, love Tilda Swinton, love Rachel McAdams, and honestly, this movie was so good. This movie is actually a pivotal reason of why I don't like Multiverse of Madness so much, because this movie surprised me so much. I love Scott Derrickson's vision for Doctor Strange, and I was just thoroughly disappointed that we could not get him in the sequel, but this movie is damn good. At number 13, I have The Avengers, and it's mainly here because of nostalgic reasons, because this was the first time we actually got to see The Avengers on the big screen. And now, of course, over the years, as I got to rewatch the movie, it has grown on me, but I'm still not, like, the biggest fan of this movie. Like, there's no way in hell I could have put it in my top 10, but I can give this movie enough appreciation and respect that it deserves, because it did give us our, favorite superheroes on the big screen for the first time. Number 12, I have Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which is a movie that definitely grew on me over the years. I personally just had minor gripes with it because everybody was saying it was the best of the trilogy, which I personally do not agree with, but it's okay because everybody is entitled to their own opinion. But this movie is absolutely freaking phenomenal and honestly, it's a phenomenal farewell to these characters and to James Gunn from the from the MCU. At number 11, I have Thor Ragnarok. And yes, while I can agree with you guys that those other 3 Thor movies may be mid, referring to the first one, to completely, absolutely ass, the other 2 and 4, this one I'm never turning my back on. Thor Ragnarok is fucking awesome. And you guys, if you don't agree, that's on you. At number 10, I got Spider-Man Homecoming. And no, this is not coming from a biased place. Spider-Man Homecoming is freaking fantastic. I watched this movie enough times to still get the same feelings that I got from the first time I watched it. Love watching Tom Holland. Michael Keaton's Vulture is so thoroughly underrated. I think he is a top 5 Marvel villain of all time. I can make a video about that later, but no, Homecoming is phenomenal. At number 9, I got Avengers Endgame, and I've honestly come a long way because this movie used to be in my top 5, and it's still one of them ones. But personally, the more I think about it, it's really the ending that makes the movie. I mean, yes, the first 2 hours is straight, like, the 10 years of the MCU kind of all coming together and stuff like that. But let's be honest, the ending is really what makes this entire thing. And also, this movie gave me Groot and a talking raccoon, so thank you, Guardians of the Galaxy, and thank you, James Gunn. This movie was for the culture, and honestly, it still hits the same today. I absolutely adore Black Panther. R.I.P. Chadwick Boseman. Love you, my guy. This one actually hurts me to have outside my top 5, but I absolutely adore Shang-Chi. It is one of the best origin stories next to Iron Man in the MCU. Please, Marvel, give me Shang-Chi back. That's all I've been asking for. I really ain't been asking for much. Can I please just have Shang-Chi back? I'm not sure why it became a popular trend to turn your back on movies months after they came out, but I promise you I'm never doing that to No Way Home, because I've watched this movie too many times, and honestly, it hits different every single time. Willem Dafoe's Goblin is phenomenal. I love watching the 3 Spider-Man team up. Boy, my heart, as a Spider-Man fan, this is my entire heart in a movie. It took me a very long time to put this top 4 together, but unfortunately, Iron Man, you got to be at number 4, but you are still amazing. I will never forget watching this movie on the steps in that theater. That movie was so crowded, I had to sit on the steps, and I didn't give a damn because that movie was so awesome. I can admit I used to be a fool and say Avengers Endgame was better than Infinity War, but I've learned my lesson, because not only does the ending make this movie, but the entire runtime of this is literally comic book porn. It's amazing. Honestly, it was an all-out brawl between this and my number 1 movie, but I'm telling you, Winter Soldier is one of them ones, man. It never fails to amaze me. This has got to be the greatest MCU movie of all time because it divided us as a nation, and whatever team you chose, That determined a lot of your friendships if they lasted or not.